Do you want to become a millionaire? Although it may seem impossible, it is attainable with the appropriate approach and mindset. So how about we show you how you can build $1 million portfolio from practically nothing? This is by revealing the crucial actions that will enable this transition from starting with $0 in your account to surviving even a market collapse and eventually achieving financial freedom. Learn how hard work, wise choices, and well-timed investments can contribute to significant wealth accumulation. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, to make this a little bit interesting, let's use a character named Tom. Like many of us, Tom is an optimistic fellow who felt very excited upon receiving his degree from the University of Michigan, Dearborn. But he also had to confront a harsh reality of life. He was beginning from nothing. Much like many recent graduates, he had no assets or money, only a degree and the burden of student loans. So, Tom began working as a junior engineer at General Motors after graduating. Although his initial paycheck wasn't considerable, it was sufficient to pay for his basic needs. He soon understood that living paycheck to paycheck would not provide him with the independence or financial stability he sought. Transitioning to the professional world presented Tom with several hurdles during his early days at General Motors. First was the awareness that many of his co-workers were caught in a loop of working long hours simply to make ends meet, and the difficulties of the job offset the exhilaration of a consistent paycheck. So, Tom began to consider his long-term financial objectives due to this reality check. Though unsure where to start, he realized he needed a strategy. Even though he was still unfamiliar with the idea of investing and saving, he was eager to learn. But one fateful day, Tom found a book of George S. Clason's The Richest Man in Babylon at the local library. This book was a huge financial light bulb moment. Tom thought that the idea of paying yourself first was both straightforward and meaningful. He understood that saving a percentage of his income had to come first for him to accumulate money. He observed that individuals would spend their money first and preserve what was left, if anything at all. To increase his money faster, he experimented with riskier investments in the hopes of earning big returns quickly. Regretfully, these endeavors resulted in losses as opposed to profits. He discovered the hard way that pursuing high-risk, high-reward chances without the necessary expertise or planning will only lead to catastrophe. His perspective on money changed as a result of these setbacks, favoring steady savings and long-term planning over speculating on impulsive purchases. So, Tom decided to learn from these early missteps and turned his attention back to laying a solid financial foundation. He pledged to save aside a certain amount from his junior engineer income, no matter how tiny. He knew he couldn't yet depend on large investments, but he could limit his consumption and save what he could. As his funds grew, this systematic strategy started to pay off. He also deliberately chose not to fall victim to the high-frequency trading scams and other schemes that promised rapid riches and attracted a lot of his colleagues. Rather, he concentrated on studying sound, tried-and-true investing techniques. His financial education didn't need fancy lectures or expensive courses. He used free internet resources, books, and talks with coworkers who had more expertise to further his understanding. Through this, Tom acquired the abilities and self-assurance required to make wise financial choices. It was difficult to make ends meet on a junior engineer's pay, particularly while attempting to save and invest. So he had to live considerably below his means and make sacrifices, such as reducing non-essential spending. Even while it wasn't always enjoyable, he realized that making these minor adjustments was essential to ensuring a brighter financial future. He avoided the usual pitfalls that many people make of upgrading their lifestyle just because they are receiving a consistent wage. With time, he automated his savings such that a certain amount of his monthly pay was saved. Savings became a non-negotiable element of this routine because of this mechanism, which helped remove the emotional component. To stay motivated, Tom also made tiny, attainable financial objectives for himself. Every time he accomplished a new financial goal, his dedication to the course strengthened. He gradually started to realize the fruits of his labors as he kept saving and making investments. And soon, he was at $20,000 in savings. He was richer by this time and wiser, more self-disciplined, and more equipped to handle the possibilities and difficulties that came with money. Upon attaining his first savings target of $20,000, Tom embarked on a new financial path, increasing his fortune to $100,000. This was a crucial step since it required learning how to make his money work for him in addition to accumulating more. The power of compounding was one of the most significant things Tom took away from this time. He came to understand that the true secret to accumulating wealth was not only knowing how much money you could save, but also knowing how to multiply it exponentially over time. So he realized that to take advantage of compounding, he had to remain invested. In contrast to other colleagues who were keen to purchase a house as soon as they could manage a down payment, Tom deliberately chose to postpone becoming a homeowner. He understood that having a mortgage would restrict his potential to make investments and increase his fortune. He might have invested more money in assets that would eventually offer larger profits, but instead, he decided to keep renting a small flat. Even though friends and coworkers were showing off their new residences, this decision wasn't simple. But Tom knew that in the end, this patience would be rewarded. During this era, Tom also started to fine-tune his investing plan. He began concentrating on value investing and moved away from the speculative trades that had disappointed him earlier in his quest. Motivated by the insights of Benjamin Graham and Warren Buffett, Tom gained the ability to recognize cheap stocks with solid fundamentals. He adopted a more systematic approach, closely examining the financial accounts of businesses and seeking out those with a great track record of profitability, skilled management, and long-term competitive advantages. With time, he was able to create a portfolio that was less vulnerable to the whims of the market because of this change in approach. His surroundings became more tempting and distracting as his riches increased. It would have been simple for him to slip into the trap of lifestyle inflation, spending more just because he could afford it. He had more money in the bank, but Tom knew all too well the perils of allowing his spending to grow with his earnings. He resisted the temptation to improve his lifestyle, staying away from pointless expenditures and materialistic pitfalls that would impede his ability to make more money. Rather than lavishing money on fancy automobiles or other luxuries, Tom concentrated on achieving financial independence and long-term stability. It needed emotional intelligence in addition to financial self-control to avoid these temptations. And even though Tom's improvements appeared to be taking a while, he eventually learned to trust the process. He told himself that accumulating riches was a journey, not a race, and that steadiness was more crucial than speed. He adopted the mindset of Warren Buffett, who advocated hitting 1-foot bars instead of 7-foot bars. That is, concentrating on modest, attainable objectives instead of attempting to place large, hazardous wagers. He was able to increase his fortune gradually and avoid taking on needless risks thanks to this strategy, which also kept him grounded. He then started to understand the significance of reaching the $100,000 milestone as his fortune approached that amount. Achieving 6 figures was more than simply a figure. It was the result of years of diligence, self-control, and wise financial choices. Tom took care, though, not to allow his success to go to his head. By the time Tom hit $100,000, he had not only increased his fortune, but he had also developed into a more mature investor and person, better equipped to take advantage of the possibilities and challenges that lie ahead. When Tom's net worth surpassed $100,000, he embarked on a crucial mission to accumulate his assets to the coveted $1 million threshold. But one of the most challenging periods in Tom's journey was surviving a market crash that wiped out nearly 50% of his portfolio's value. For many, such a dramatic drop could induce panic, leading to rash decisions like selling off stocks at a loss. But Tom had prepared for moments like these, both mentally and strategically. He understood that markets are cyclical and that downturns, while painful, are temporary. Instead of reacting impulsively, Tom kept a cool head. He reminded himself of the long-term vision he had committed to and the importance of staying invested, especially during turbulent times. After the collapse, he perceived an opportunity rather than a setback. He realized this was a unique opportunity to purchase high-quality firms at prices he might not see again for years because stocks were trading at significant discounts. Equipped with the ideas of value investing that he had developed over the years, Tom began to look for companies that were selling at a bargain. He concentrated on businesses that had a track record of surviving economic downturns, competent management teams, and sound foundations. He set himself up for a big profit once the market started to rebound by increasing his investments throughout the terrible market crash. During this time, patience was essential. The market took some time to recover, and there were times when Tom's fortitude was put to the test, but his persistence with his plan paid off. His portfolio finally recovered its losses and reached new heights when the economy began to improve. Tom learned from this experience how important it is to maintain a well thought out strategy, even in the face of adversity, and the value of patience. He was now tempted to make high risk, high reward bets as his wealth rose. One such chance presented itself in the shape of Meta, a digital business that claimed to transform social media interaction. Tom was enticed to commit a sizable chunk of his portfolio to this possible goldmine due to the company's eye-catching presentations and aggressive marketing activities. But Tom stepped back to assess the situation before taking any action. He thought back to the things he had learned from past speculative ventures that had failed. Meta offered tantalizing potential gains, but there were also substantial hazards. He was aware that following the next great thing frequently resulted in losses in terms of money and disappointment. Rather than following the crowd, he stuck to his values in value investing. He avoided the temptation of risky endeavors that could prove to be nothing more than a passing fad by concentrating on businesses with solid track records and long-term business plans. Tom was able to consistently outperform his expectations with a small effort because of this systematic technique, which eventually added up to significant returns. He realized that accumulating riches require making several wise, little judgments that piled up rather than one large score. He was able to develop his portfolio safely and slowly, and eventually hit the $1 million mark by adhering to his values and making cautious, well-considered decisions. This phase of his journey made him a well-rounded person who saw the value of balance, patience, and discipline in all facets of life, not simply reaching a financial objective. So now, what are your thoughts on Tom's path to financial independence? Did this encourage you to go on your own financial independence journey? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.